You may have the self-worth wound, and this is why it's important to really find out. If you are talented, intelligent, resilient, you want to really make a huge difference in the world, and you find yourself working harder and harder and harder, and just getting really exhausted, your bank account is not a reflection of the amount of effort you're putting in. It may be that secret that gets to shift is your self-worth. I am sharing this from my personal experience. When I used to work in the corporate world, I found myself doing these things. And looking back now, I realized that I was not coming from a place of worthiness. I was coming from a place of trying to prove myself worthy. So proving yourself, really trying to prove that you're good enough, trying to prove that you know enough. These are signs that you may have the self-worth wound. If you're one of those people who has to do research and double check, and actually you're a walking encyclopedia, but you still do not feel worthy and confident of showing up and asking for what you deserve, or even putting your foot in the door and asking for the opportunities, this may be a huge sign. The second thing is when you keep finding yourself comparing yourself to other people. When you are truly worthy, when you truly feel and know that you are a unique being here to do something that is unique to you, then you have no business, no desire, no interest looking at other people's lanes. It's almost as if you were going to, let's say, Paris, and somebody else is going to, let's say, South Africa. And let's assume you're driving. Bear with me. Terrible geographic examples. And they're going in another lane. Well, let them go. They're not going into the same place as you. But if you have the self-worth wound, instead of really standing in your own sovereignty and authority and knowing that where you are going is your own personal rendezvous with destiny, you begin to wonder, am I doing it wrong? Maybe I don't have the right formula. Maybe I should look at what other people are doing. Whilst in the end, what other people are doing is their business, and you are the sole authority on what you are actually going to do. Another huge example of having a self-worth wound is when you find yourself making promises that you can't keep, overcompensating, right? I know that overcompensation is definitely something I did. I would get to work at 7 a.m. I would leave maybe at 9, keep working at home, offer to work on weekends. I was always available. I was working with the intensity of a Formula One driver and the dedication of a doctor on call. And I didn't do that for 2 or 3 weekends or even a few months. I did that for several years. As a result, I burnt out. My vitality took a hit. My relationships suffered. And the worst part is no matter how much I worked, there was never enough recognition, never enough results to make me feel more worthy. And there is the secret. Nothing outside of yourself can fill your worthiness cup. The journey to the experience of self-worth is one within yourself. It's more about identifying and removing or releasing the things that are blocking your own perception of your worth. The day you see yourself as the magnificent, phenomenal being that you are, is the day that you will burst into tears with sheer gratitude and wonder why you spent all those years worrying whether you were good enough. And it's really important that when we really know that we are worthy, we feel no need to compete, because that need to compete is coming from a space of, I have to prove that I am better than you. But if you're already worthy and that person is already worthy, then again, what they're doing is their business and has nothing to do with you. And I'm going to give you another tip here, which is true self-worth has nothing to do with what you are doing or the results you are creating. True self-worth is really the understanding that you are intrinsically worthy and your being is worthy, which means whether you get it right or not, whether you know the answer or not, whether you did it in excellence or not, you are just as worthy. And when we can come to work, to relationships, to anything we're doing already worthy, then it gives us the expansion, the freedom to play, to experiment, to be creative, because we're more focused on enjoying what we are doing, on discovering, on really bringing something new and beautiful into the world, than avoiding criticism. If you suffer from the self-worth wound, then criticism is something that you will want to avoid like the plague, which is normal. If you're already saying things to yourself you probably will never say to anyone else, then any external criticism just feels unbearable. I recall when I used to be in the corporate world, I would say things like, oh, my manager is never going to have anything to say about this, this job, whatever I was doing. And what I meant by that was he wasn't going to have anything negative to say. So my whole focus was avoiding criticism as opposed to doing something, presenting it, inviting feedback, and building upon it. I also thought for some reason, because I was so identified, my worth was so identified with my results, that if I didn't do it by myself, if it wasn't a result of my sweat and my blood and my tears, that I did not deserve the recognition. Instead of really understanding that I could have an idea and somebody else could add to that idea. Another person could add to another. Or maybe my idea was scrapped and we took somebody else's idea, but the job got done. And that was okay too, because my very being facilitated, my very being activated, my very being caused friction that then created something new, whatever it was. This is the secret. When you truly understand that your very being is worthy, then you show up at the table as if you have a place. You show up and you ask for what you desire and you deserve. You show up, and when people may be doing whatever they're doing because they're having a bad day, you know it has nothing to do with you. So this is my invitation to you. If anything I have said resonates, if some of these things are things that you experience, then you really want to, number one, see, number two, accept, and number three, shift when it comes to your self-worth wound. Because your income, your impact, your ability to receive love, and even experience joy are all linked to your perception of your self-worth. Tell me what resonates. Tell me what it is that you believe you really need support with. I would love to connect. This is one of my favorite topics. Let's turn those wounds into wisdom, and let's turn the wisdom into wealth. Love and light.